I love Roblox, but I don't have money to spend on Robux. Good thing I have Buff. With Buff, I can earn Robux by simply playing Roblox. I love Roblox, but I don't have money to spend on Robux. Good thing I have Buff. With Buff, I can earn Robux by simply playing Roblox. I love Roblox, but I don't have money to spend on Robux. Good thing I have Buff. With Buff, I can earn Robux by
Friends to play with, but also someone who made the game with hundreds of thousands active players every single day, making thousands of Robux every hour. And all of this with
Did you know that 99% of people don't know that ASMR stands for Autonomous Sensory Learning or Learning Response? Learning Response? ASMR. Do you like ASMR? Welcome to my stream. Welcome to my stream. Welcome to my stream. I hope everyone is having a wonderful time. Um, um, what's it called? What the Sigma? PLS WATCH. Eve. Um, what the Sigma? Hi, look at the ice cream. Hello, hello, hello. Look at the ice cream. Okie dokie. Okay. Dun, 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 I kinda got a high in the chat. Kinda got a hole in the chat. And I'm Oh, wow. Wow. That's a very Sigma Ohio gamer. Hello, everyone. Hello, hello, hello. Hello, 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 hello. Can you hear me now? Welcome to the live stream. Welcome, 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 welcome. Hello. Hello. Had HD gaming. Wow, that's very high definition gaming you've got there. Okay, sorry. Hello. Yes. W audios. Boys in the chat. Boys in the chat. W is very thick. Did you know that? Double C thick. Very thick. Yo. Hey, yo. Hey, yo. Whoa. You need to... Welcome, Coker 9,999 stream 99. Wow! What on 2,000? Yeah, I'll ban you. You know how I ban you? President, channel activity, go to channel, hidden message, report, remove. Put this timer in timeout. Add a moderator and high user on this channel. I am going to pin this message. No, I'm joking. Opie. With the, Oklahoma. Okay, anti-has. There's a hunter on the hill. Gun. Hey, it's not a gun. Oh, hello, fellow human. Who's animations? How you make animations, you say? Can you make me a signature anime if you know what I'm talking about? No, I'm joking. No! I said please subscribe in the poll. It says of 3 people, every single person said no! In the poll, it says of 3 people, every single person said no!
So amazing, it looks great.
Okay, I need to go. I need to take my daughter to school.
Okay. Hey, but I want you to focus on growth and praise. That'll work. That'll work. I want to work from anywhere.
I don't want to be underestimated.
I want you to focus on growth over grades.
Hey everyone, we're Crew! And guess what? Google Play Games is the official PC platform for Cookie Run Tower of Adventures. There is so much you can do.
You can choose your gaming mode, story, raid, with multiplayer.
Oh, let's go! And now you're free to choose how you play.
Play on mobile or on PC. Wait, so I can use keyboard and mouse?
Yep,
What about a controller?
of course.
What about using my mind?
Download and play Cookie Run Tower of Adventures on PC with Google Play Games.
What is going on, cat gang? Harry here with two cats and a video that I should have made at the beginning of this series, 24 engineers versus walks. What is going on, cat gang? It's your boy Harry here with two cats, and I want to start out by saying I missed you. Much like your father that left to get milk, I never meant to leave you, and I always planned to return. In this video, I'm going to be letting you know why I left and what I've been doing for the past year. I want to say up front that the reason that I stopped making YouTube videos and stopped playing Roblox really has nothing at all to do with Tower Defense Simulator. Now, this is going to be a little uncomfortable for me because in order to fully explain what I've been doing, I have to be vulnerable and open about my struggles with my emotions and my mental health. And even though you may have looked at me as someone that is funny and smart and good looking and entertaining and strong and intelligent and funny and smart, and did I mention good looking? What I actually felt inside my body was that nothing I did was ever good enough. I was insecure and anxious and even depressed a lot of the time. Now, of course, there were things I didn't like about being a TDS content creator. A good example is how I had to rely on the TDS devs to update the game so that I'd have content to make videos about. And I didn't like that someone else was in control of my income like that, because if they weren't updating the game, people weren't playing it. And if people weren't playing it, they also weren't watching YouTube videos about it, which meant that I made less money. And even though that's something that has always kind of bothered me, it wasn't the real reason that I left. To fully understand why I left, you really have to understand the mental health struggles that I've had in my life. And in order to understand those, you really have to understand my childhood. So let's jump in the time machine and go back to when dinosaurs roamed the earth. The 1990s, when I was a kid. I did not grow up in a happy family. My parents fought all the time. I don't have any memories of them loving one another or laughing together or just hanging out and doing stuff. My house was full of tension and anger, and this affected my childhood development. I internalized that tension, and when I grew up, I recreated it in the relationships that I had with the people that I cared about. This meant that I couldn't have a relationship with a woman that I loved without fighting with her. And throughout my 20s and 30s, I began to see a pattern of drama, even with my friends. This eventually led to me being 35 years old with only one friend and not dating anymore because I didn't know how to care about somebody without also hating them. Now, eventually, I did get into therapy because I thought, I need help. I don't know what's wrong with me, but I know life isn't supposed to feel this way. And so in 2020, when I was 35, I started going to therapy. Now, as coincidence would have it, this would be exactly the same time that I started playing TDS. Is Tower Defense Simulator therapy? So this is a situation that I found myself in when I started making TDS YouTube videos. I was 35 years old, didn't really have any friends, hadn't had a girlfriend in 5 years, living with my mom and 2 cats. Now I can kind of fast forward through this next part because you know what happened with my TDS career. The Frost Invasion event released in May of 2021 and I shot to the top of the TDS content creator community. I became very successful, making thousands of dollars a month, which enabled me to move out of my mom's house and go to Colorado to live close to my one friend. And as soon as I did this, I immediately started to feel something pulling me away from making TDS content. At first it was Fat Cat dying, so I took a couple of months off in the middle of 2021 to deal with the sadness that I felt about that. Eventually I did return to making videos. Then at the beginning of 2022, I took another couple of months off because it really started to feel that something inside of me was telling me to stop making TDS content, but I didn't know why. So I fought that feeling back and forth and back and forth. During this time, I'm talking to my therapist about my childhood, and she's helping me to understand that my childhood experiences are affecting the way I think about my life and the ways in which I feel about myself. And therapy work is a long process. It took me a long time to understand the new ideas that I was learning, like the idea that my childhood wasn't actually over. It was still continuing on inside of me, and I was carrying it around, projecting it onto the world around me. Because my parents weren't just mean to one another, they were also really mean to me. My dad was sarcastic and really funny, but he would make fun of people, including his own children. And my mom was really quick to blame me for things that weren't my fault. Now, as a side note real quick, I understand that my parents were abusive to me and my siblings because that's how they had been treated by their parents, in the same way that I had internalized the tension and anger in my childhood home and recreated it in my adult relationships. My parents were doing the exact same thing, but with their childhoods. In the same way that I had learned how my childhood was still affecting me as an adult, the fact is that their childhoods were still affecting them as parents. And that's a short answer for why they were so abusive. It's because they had been abused by their parents. This process of passing down the abuse that we get in childhood from our parents to our children when we become parents is called intergenerational trauma. And it's the focus of my brand new YouTube channel that I'll be telling you about at the end of this video. Basically, the idea is that we are all victims of trauma that's being passed down through the generations of our families. Our parents abuse us because they were abused, and they were abused by their parents, which would be our grandparents, because our grandparents were abused by our great-grandparents, on and on and on. And so the way that this intergenerational trauma was affecting me as a 37-year-old in 2022 was by me having all these negative thoughts and feelings about myself. The one thing that I can clearly remember doing during that time period was feeling bad about the videos that I'd release. Now, this is something that you wouldn't know. You probably saw me making TDS videos in 2022 and doing live streams, and you thought, hey, this guy seems happy and successful and loves cats. Well, actually, the only thing that's true about that is that I do love cats, because I definitely wasn't happy. So what I would do is release a video and watch it like a hawk to see how many views it would get in the first few hours of the upload, with the idea that if the video got a lot of views, I'd feel happy. I'd feel successful. But actually, it didn't matter how many views the video got. I always felt like a failure. And so if a video got a lot of views, I'd be like, okay. But if it didn't get a lot of views, I'd feel like nobody likes me, everybody likes the other TDS content creators more, and I would always be checking their videos to see how many views they were getting so I could compare myself to them. And if I got more views than they did, I would think, oh yeah, I'm better than them. But if I got less, then I would think, I'm trash. And this is an incredibly toxic way to live your life. You understand what I'm saying? It didn't matter that I was already a successful YouTuber with over 100,000 subscribers making a lot of money playing video games. I always felt bad. And that's why I was in therapy, to figure out why I couldn't be happy. Why was nothing ever enough? There was never enough money, never enough success, never enough fame to make me feel happy inside. Why? Why was I like that? Where did those negative feelings come from? The answer that I eventually figured out is childhood. Because my parents weren't happy with themselves, I never learned how to be happy with myself. Because they weren't emotionally healthy, I wasn't emotionally healthy. No one had ever taught me how to be happy, and no one had ever taught me to be proud of myself. Based on the way they acted, what my parents had taught me was how to criticize myself because they were always criticizing me. My parents had taught me that nothing I ever did was good enough because when I was a kid, they were never happy with me. And so these are the feelings I was having when I was making TDS videos. On the outside, I was successful, but on the inside, I was still an insecure little boy that didn't get the love he needed from his parents when he was young. And this is where I was at when I stopped making videos in 2023. If you go back and look at May and June of 2023, you'll see that I made a ton of videos in those 2 months, but I hadn't made any videos in the first few months of the year because I was doing a really intense therapy called EMDR, which actually was really good for me. What happened was that after I did that EMDR therapy, I had made a bunch of videos in May and June, but they didn't really get that many views because TDS wasn't updating at the time. And so nobody really watched the content that I made about the game, which meant that I didn't have the money that I needed to keep living in Colorado. And so I made the decision to move back in with my mom so that I could figure out what I was going to do about my channel. And even at this time, as all of this stuff was happening, I could sense this feeling inside of me that was telling me to stop making TDS videos. And so when I moved back to Texas to live with my mom at the end of July 2023, I finally stopped fighting that feeling and said, okay, fine, you win. I'll stop making videos. What do you want me to do? And so I started playing Fortnite a lot. Fortnite's a battle royale game. Not sure if you've heard of it. It's kind of new. It's a lot of fun, at least when there's no building. And so what I was doing during this time was continuing my therapy journey, but because I didn't have the money for a therapist, I started buying therapy books about childhood trauma and reading those to try and understand how to feel happy inside my body. Even though I'd done EMDR therapy and CBT therapy and IFS therapy and had made a lot of progress in understanding how my childhood was affecting my adulthood, I hadn't yet gotten to the core of my negative feelings about myself. And that's what I've been doing for the past year. Sometimes I would play Fortnite. Actually, a lot of the times I play Fortnite, and some other times I would read. And this balance was good for me because the stuff I was reading about and the feelings I was having about my own childhood were very uncomfortable. And so by being able to distract myself with Fortnite, I feel like I was able to do some really difficult work that I don't know if I would have been able to do without it. And as I continued to read those books and face those painful feelings that I had inside, I finally learned the language to describe what had happened to me as a kid. And over time, I built the confidence to be vulnerable enough to make a video like this where I can be honest and say that I was carrying a lot of pain inside of me.
I'm Brian Fitzpatrick, and I approve this message.
Congressional candidate Ashley E. Haas just moved here from New Jersey to run for Congress. The only candidate Ashley E. Haas ever voted for in Pennsylvania is herself. She pled guilty to slandering a local business owner. And while our families are struggling to make ends meet, Ashley E. Haas was caught using campaign funds to pay for her personal living expenses. Congressional candidate Ashley Ehasz only cares about one person, herself.
As a diesel or auto student at Universal Technical Institute, you can connect with our career services advisors who are ready to help you find employment opportunities. Want to sign up? Click below to get started.
Me. And the truth is that for some very long periods of my life, I dealt with that pain through addictions. And I can say now that I have been addicted to drugs and alcohol. I would even say that I've been addicted to video games because I would use these things to avoid those painful feelings. And it wasn't until the past year that I actually stopped avoiding those feelings, and that's what finally healed those negative ideas and feelings I had about myself inside. I had to stop numbing myself, I had to stop running away from myself, and I had to just face the reality that I had a very painful upbringing. And so it was that experience combined with learning all of the ideas in the books that I've been reading that finally changed me. And I can say now, for the first time in my life, that I'm happy because I finally figured out who I am and what I want to do with my life. And this is what I want to do. Talking about these things right here. That's why I started making videos about this stuff on my new YouTube channel. I want to spread the message that people are being hurt in childhood just like I was. It's like there's this invisible sickness of shame and embarrassment about who we are that's being passed down from parents to children in our society, and we don't even know it. This is why I was comparing myself to other TDS content creators, because I was ashamed of who I was. And I would have spent the rest of my life carrying those feelings of shame if I hadn't taken the past year off and read a bunch of therapy books. The most important one being this one right here. This is the book that finished my journey. This is what all of my therapy was leading up to. This is John Bradshaw's Homecoming, and the information it contains healed my wounded inner child. And I believe that it can help all of the other people out there in America and across the world that are having the same feelings of insecurity and depression and anxiety that I was carrying in my body. Let me read you something from the back jacket. Are you outwardly successful but inwardly feel like a big kid? Do you aspire to be a loving parent but all too often lose it in hurtful ways? Do you crave intimacy but sometimes wonder if it's worth the struggle? Are you plagued by constant vague feelings of anxiety and depression? If any of this sounds familiar, you may be experiencing the hidden but damaging effects of a painful childhood, carrying within you a wounded inner child who is crying out for attention and healing. The fact is that there is one thing that connects all of us, and it's that at one point in our lives, we were children that needed help, and a lot of us didn't get that help. And even though we're adults now, 39 years old with a giant gray beard, we still struggle with the effects of the abuse and abandonment that we experienced in childhood. I want to help the people in my society heal from that abuse. I want to change my society so that we stop abusing children in the first place. This is why I made a new YouTube channel called Harrison, where I'm going to be telling people about what I learned by going through the therapy process. I have put that link for the channel down in the description so you can subscribe if you want to be a part of my new community. And now I owe you an apology. I gotta say, I'm sorry that I left you without explaining what I was doing. The truth is, I didn't really know what I was doing. I was just following this feeling inside of me that I had to follow, because that's what life is about. Following your own path, living the life that you choose, not the one that's given to you by your parents or your society. But still, I'm truly sorry that I left you. I never stopped thinking about you. A lot of people checked in on me while I was gone and told me that they missed me and that they loved the content that I used to make, which is something that I just couldn't have felt before because all I felt was bad. But now I can really feel your appreciation and your love for the entertainment that I provided for you. So thank you for liking me when I didn't like myself. Thank you for being a part of my community. It has been the greatest pleasure of my life to lead a community that's full of so many kind and caring people. I know that and I hope that you'll come and be a part of my new community and stay with me as I try to help people heal from their childhood pain. And maybe you're one of those people. Maybe you need help. Maybe you're growing up in a dysfunctional family right now. I remember what that felt like. I remember how alone I felt when my parents didn't have time for me. I know that what a kid needs most of all is an adult in their life that cares about them and is there to support them and to give them advice as they mature through the different developmental stages of childhood. That's what I'm here for, and that's what I'm going to be doing for the rest of my life. And that is the end of the video. Thank you so much for watching. It feels so good to be back to making content again, and I will see you right back here every Saturday for live streams. Now, if you enjoy this video, go ahead and smash that like button with your forehead, hit the subscribe button with your big toe, and turn on notifications however you can so you don't miss any of my amazing upcoming content. And I will see you guys next time. Take care, be safe, and never forget what I always say, peace.
We're made of passion that makes us go all out or all in. A love so deep, it takes over us, sort of tugs at us like the perfect chord. You see, passion is the engine of this story, our story. Abu Dhabi calendar, passion is the occasion.
My hair, my hair, my hair. Meet the Shark Flex Fusion Stray, the luxury multi-styler for wet or dry styling. Transform wet hair to dry, silky, and smooth in as little as one pass. Curly or bouncy with no heat damage. On dry hair, Flex Fusion combines heated ceramic and powerful airflow to revive and shine or volumize. Wash days or any day. Embrace, transform, love your hair. The Shark Flex Fusion.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Mediac. And the trailer dropped for the long-awaited Thunderbolts. And I have opinions on it, fucking obviously, or I wouldn't be making a video on it. I don't think it's a very brave statement to say that Marvel hasn't exactly been putting out the best things recently. X-Men 97 has been pretty good. Stay tuned on the channel for that. I promise that video is coming out soon. I had a poll come out a really long time ago, and God, I gotta get better at being quicker with these videos. It's okay. You'll see. It'll be worth it. It's a good video, I promise. Yeah, Marvel, bad. So the Captain America trailer didn't exactly look enjoyable. I honestly find the trailer really funny because it shows just how shitty that Marvel can be. I don't know. I maybe I'm being a little bit too mean or critical or whatever, but that trailer looked really horrible to me, and I have no interest in seeing that movie. However, I don't necessarily feel the exact same way about Thunderbolts. The initial pitch was that this is like Marvel's Suicide Squad, and that's kind of true. Like, these guys aren't necessarily villains because most of them have some sort of redemption arc in some way in their movie, and all of them are like likable in some degree. And it's kind of like how, what's her name, Valentina or something? No, that's a character from Call of Duty Zombies. What's her name? She says that they're like bad guys and then there's worse guys. And I guess that's like a nod to them being anti-heroes and stuff like that. But I don't even think they're anti-heroes. I wrote here in my notes, they're just depressed Avengers. And that is kind of what this is. So this movie hasn't exactly had a whole ton of issues with it. They did have a recast because Stephen Ewan was originally going to be playing Bob, aka Sentry, but now I don't remember his name, but it's the guy who's in the trailer. He's currently Sentry Bob guy. Not that it matters a whole lot. It also got pushed back a lot, but I honestly think that was probably because Kevin Feige and Bob Iger and everyone in Marvel and Disney realized, hey, we're overloading some stuff with Marvel. We need to pull it back a little bit. I don't think that was a necessary pushback. Or maybe it was because of the reshoots. I'm not sure. I haven't been keeping super up to date with the Thunderbolts information. But what I can say is that the trailer looked pretty interesting. It looks funnier than what I was thinking it was going to be, but I don't mean that in a bad way. Because even though it did seem a little quippy, it seemed kind of like a depressing humor kind of way. And I honestly think that's more enjoyable than the average, like, Marvel kind of jokes and romps and stuff like that. So I do have some kind of hope for it in that department. And one thing that's kind of weird about this is that it kind of, in a way, has more build-up than the Avengers did, because this was built up through the last, 6 years, 4 years. It was built up over the last, 4 to 5 years, kind of naturally, of just these characters kind of existing, and then some other person, I called her Valentina, I can't remember her name, the Seinfeld girl, she just pops up and it says hi to them and stuff like that. So it's a really natural progression, and all these characters coming together. It feels pretty real, and it's kind of good because we need a new Nick Fury type, because Nick Fury is really, God, he sucks now because of Secret Invasion. That really ruined his character, full stop. I mentioned him earlier, the Sentry, because that was the only bit of pushback or development issues I felt like there were with this movie. It's also a good thing to bring him up because of how complicated he is as a character, being a a Superman of sorts, who is I can't remember, he either was a super soldier serum kind of person, or he was an attempt at the Hulk. He's either an attempt at the Hulk or an attempt at Captain America. That's usually how these super people go in comics. Yeah, so it's probably going to be exactly the same as that. Like the government and someone tried to create one of those two characters using whatever, and they actually made something way worse. So they've been doing some weird stuff by having Infinity and Thor Love and Thunder, but there's no way they're going to do the Void, right? I feel like that's too weird for what Marvel's going to do, and too complicated of a concept for what Thunderbolts will do. And it already, I know the Sentry is going to be the villain of the movie, but already doesn't that feel too much like Suicide Squad 2016, where it's a member of the team that goes bad and they have to fight against them. It feels too much of a copycat of that. But honestly, I don't think that's that much of a big deal, because it's not exactly hard to do that better, because that movie is terrible, so much so that it honestly interrupted that sentence. One thing that I was wrong with whenever I was thinking about this movie was that Thunderbolt Ross was necessary to be in it in some sort of capacity, because I thought that it was made based off of his name and he made it and stuff like that. But that's not necessarily true, because in the comics, they just were a bunch of supervillains who replaced the Avengers, and then they eventually just decided to become a team of good heroes, because they decided they like heroing better than being villains. So they had nothing to do with Ross, but in the newer versions of it, it is Ross's secret superhero team. So it's kind of up in the air whether or not that's what they're going to do. And I honestly think that's probably why there's an asterisk in the title, and they're making a big deal about that asterisk. And personally, I don't know what the common consensus is or what people think it is, but whenever I see that, I'm thinking that's the sign for a footnote in a book, that there's more to explain about it. It's Thunderbolts, but ask about it, because it's not the one that you're thinking because of copyright reasons or something like that. You know what I mean? It's not, they couldn't use Thunderbolts because the president is Thunderbolt, so they had to put the asterisk at the end of it, so it's copyright free. And then if you look into it like a footnote, you can see the explanation for what it is. So it's Thunderbolts, but not the Thunderbolt, I don't know. That's a fucking stupid explanation, but I don't know why else it's going to be that important that there's that little symbol there. But for some reason, that symbol is pretty darn important to the actual title of the fucking stupid thing. Speaking of Thunderbolt Ross, another reason why I don't necessarily think he's going to be a part of the team or in it at all, in addition to just the asterisk trying to be separate from him, is that Harrison Ford is old as fuck, man, and I don't think he's going to want to do the Hulk stuff. He's going to want to do it as little as humanly possible, And then I just have a couple more things to say about this, and then I'm going to just leave it up to the universe. I honestly have no idea if this is going to be good or bad, or what people think about it. I want to know what other people think about it. Why do you think the asterisk is there? What do you think the entire plot is? Because it seems kind of clear cut. Everyone is at a low point in their life, so they call up Valentina. I'm going to call her Valentina because that's just the name I've been calling her. I don't know if that's correct or not. I'm sorry in advance. But they call her up, and then she's like, oh, I have a mission for all of you. And then they organize them, and then they're together on a team, and then they all go on a mission, and the Sentry goes bad, and then everyone is now job is to stop the Sentry or something like that. At least that's what I envision from it. So like that doesn't necessarily mean that that's what's gonna happen, but I don't know. It seems pretty cookie cutter for me. That's the only thing I'm kind of a little bit worried about is that that's going to be a little boring. I like seeing Bucky in it. The trailer makes a little bit more sense than what initially was there. Like whenever it was revealed, I was really confused as to like why he was there because he's such a good guy. But it seems like he's like a senator of some sorts and he's trying to stop the Thunderbolts. And I'm guessing they're going to have a scuffle in which like they then explain the plan to him and then he joins up with them to help take down the Sentry or whatever villain they're trying to stop or something of the sorts. And then the final thing I have to say is that even though this movie is long awaited, because we've heard about it forever, it's had a name change, it added the asterisk. That's a big deal, guys. It is, for some reason. And then it also like changed the logo of it from like a metal silver and orange to like a yellow and I don't know. I think the new one looks actually kind of better, even though it's more simple. The movie releases in May of 2025. That's like about a year away. Why did they release the trailer this early? Like this is crazy. I felt like the trailer for Thor, it took forever for us to get a trailer for Thor, right? Or like some movie that came out recently. We didn't see a trailer until like 3 months before now. Now we're seeing a trailer a year ahead. Like, that's crazy. This is like giving Craven vibes. Like, this is so weird. Speaking of Craven, I'm really excited for that. I might do a video on that whenever that comes out. Okay, well, this video is actually replacing, I already recorded, edited, and exported a review of Alien Romulus, but after watching the trailer, I just felt like I had so many opinions about it that I needed to talk about it. So, yeah. All right, I'll see you guys next week with my review of Alien Romulus. So stay tuned, guys. Bye. Subscribe, please.
If I'm sniffling, it's because Iron Man's dead. You know, I really feel like Iron Man was always the end game. He kicked off this universe and then he ended it with one snap. I am Iron Man. Yeah, it's continuing on since then, but this saga started with him. This universe was built with Tony Stark, with Robert Downey Jr. It all started with him. He's the guy that kicked it all off. And then it ended with him. The best phase 3, I guess there's one more Spider-Man, but like the the Infinity Saga ended with Iron Man. I am Iron Man. Let's try to unpack this thing. Holy. I think Endgame is the best there ever was. It's as good as it's going to get. You can't beat Endgame. I think maybe on some level I might have liked Infinity War a little bit more because of they lost, you know, and it was this epic build up to the first confrontation. Endgame, though, was just so epic. The pure scale of Endgame, even when they do Secret Wars, there's no way it's going to connect and hit as hard as Endgame. Because the reality is, this new group that we follow, no one's going to care about them as much as they cared about Iron Man, Black Widow, Captain America. It's just not going to happen. They can try, but it's not going to work. They need time to build the relationships up with those characters. The battle at the end, when I think of epic final confrontation battles, I think Battle of Helm's Deep, you know, Battle of the Bastards, stuff like that. This is on that level. I really believe that. People are going to think, oh, are you crazy? Listen, it was. You can't call it the Battle of Endgame and not think that belongs in this great hall of great battles. It does. It really does. The only thing I wish they didn't do is the whole time travel to fix everything. Couldn't they have done something where everyone was in the Soul Stone and they had to kind of take the stone from Thanos? Maybe he had them in some kind of fortress surrounded by guards and they could have still done this battle. I don't know. I guess it might not have been the same, but I just really don't like the idea of just going back in time to fix everything because it kind of makes the other stuff feel cheap. Although they didn't necessarily erase what he did, because as we see in Falcon the Winter Soldier and the properties that came after, there is a ripple effect from what Thanos did in that 5-year gap that is really felt. A lot of people actually agreed with Thanos in the MCU. The standout for me has to be Robert Downey Jr. The guy absolutely nailed every single scene he's been in since Iron Man 1 to his last appearance here. Just absolutely crushed it. Right, Miles? Huh? Miles is looking at me. Yeah, you like Iron Man, right? They're both looking at me. They both looked up as soon as I said Iron Man. Even dogs who don't even understand anything love Iron Man. How are you going to foster that relationship with somebody again? I guess you could say Spider-Man would probably be that. But the issue with Spider-Man is it's really just maybe him and Doctor Strange maybe, but not at the same level. I think with this core group of Avengers, you had the Hulk, Captain America, Hawkeye, Black Widow, Iron Man, and Thor. Those guys were everything to people. They all had great stories. Everybody felt connected to those characters, and there was a group. The beginning was so dark, where you had this sickly Tony Stark picked up by Captain Marvel and brought to Earth. Said we need a suit of armor around the world, blah, blah, blah. Just absolutely withered away. He looked like he was about to die. He was on the precipice of death right when Captain Marvel picked him up. Then he goes and he has this beautiful, nice family with Pepper. I love you 3000. Oh, let's talk about memes too. I'm going all over the place. There's just so many good things. So you had Tony Stark's amazing story, which led me to remember the memes. There's so many epic memes. I love you 3000. Scarlet Witch about to destroy Thanos. You took everything from me. And then he's like, I don't even know who you are. So many people meme that scene. This movie is a cultural moment in cinema. People are going to think that I'm stupid for saying that because it's Marvel. It is a cultural moment in cinema. You went to go watch Endgame. If you watched Endgame, you would remember the exact moment Thor's hammer went to Captain America and everyone cheered. You would remember when Falcon said on your left and the gold circles appeared, everyone came through. People cheered. It was a spectacle going to see this movie. When was the last time you remember a movie being a spectacle like this? For me, it would probably be No Way Home. I can't think of any non-Marvel related movies that have been spectacles like this. I want to say the original Lord of the Rings trilogy, but I can't think of anything else off the top of my head. I mean, this movie was that. It was that at its absolute best. People were going nuts. It was incredible. To be there with everybody on the Thursday it came out, I had chills. And everybody was cheering, right? But when everyone was quiet? When Iron Man died. Thanos grabbed the gauntlet. He put it, the Infinity Stones were on his wrist. And he's like, I am inevitable. And then Iron Man, nothing happens. And then it pans to Iron Man. And the stones are killing him. And he's like, I am Iron Man. Oh, it's so amazing. I can't believe it. Let's see how well this movie did at the box office. I'm going to give you all a second to try and figure out how the movie did while I'm pulling it up. Okay, do you all have a second? So Avengers Endgame had a budget of $400 million. I think that's more than the last two movies we covered combined. Well, no, because one of them was Infinity War. The last two non-Avengers movies combined. So I cannot believe how much money this movie made. Actually, I shouldn't be surprised. It's the culmination of 10 years of just epic movie buildup. But Avengers Endgame made $2.8 billion on a $400 million budget. This movie is going to be studied by studios for generations to come on how to build a universe, how to make that money at the box office, what to build up to. It cannot get better than this. The action, the little moments of humor, the epic final confrontation, the tears that came when Iron Man left or when Captain America finally had that last dance with Peggy. It was just so perfect. How do you even build something like that again? You know what I think you have to do? You have to almost find a way to reset. So DC might be in a good place to do that, but Marvel, I don't know how you do that. Again, I'm not bashing anything anymore. I want to focus on this. You just need to start from the ground up. You need to start with your Iron Man, your Captain America, your Thor, and slowly bring everything up. When you have too much going on, it takes away. You need your core members, your core group, and you need to watch them grow and have some little periphery pieces around them, like a Ant-Man or like a Guardians of the Galaxy, which Guardians of the Galaxy is one of the best CBM trilogies. Can't wait to get to Volume 3. I think we all know where Endgame's going to land on my MCU power rankings. I really am torn between Infinity War and Endgame, because Endgame, I like them both, but in different ways, if that makes sense. However, I got to give the edge to Endgame because of just the epicness of everything. Just the whole universe was building up to this moment, and there was so much pressure on Marvel to deliver with this movie. And not only did they deliver, they exceeded expectations. Maybe that's why they're going back to Robert Downey Jr. as Dr. Doom and the Russo brothers for Secret Wars and Doomsday. I just don't know how they can replicate this. I want to be hopeful. I'm sure that the movies will be amazing, but Endgame is just the cherry on top of an epic 10-year build. No notes. I guess I gave a note with Time Child. So with Endgame at number 1, let's talk about our rankings and where we stand. We have Captain Marvel at 21, Iron Man at 20, Thor Dark World is at number 19, Iron Man is at number 18, Ant-Man is number 17, Ant-Man and the Wasp is number 16, Thor is number 15, The Hulk is number 14, Spider-Man is number 13, Guardians of the Galaxy is number 12, Iron Man is number 11, and then in our top 10 we have Age of Ultron, number 10, Doctor Strange, number 9, Captain America First Avenger, number 8, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 1, number 7, The Avengers, number 6, and now we go into our top 5. This is our top 5, all right? We've covered 21 movies, and we're in our top 5. Winter Soldier is number 5. Thor Ragnarok is number 4. Civil War is number 3. Infinity War, a close number 2. And then we end off with Endgame. Coming up next, we have Spider-Man Far From Home, ending off on epic Phase 3, the best phase. I can tell you right now, the best phase. I'm your host, Mark Savvy. Thank you for listening to another episode of Savvy Geeks. I'll see you next time. Yeah.
Hi, we just watched episode 4 of Agatha All Along, and I don't remember what it's called because they all have really long names, like that one religious show from Arrested Development, like And So It Is, and also It Is Unto You, or whatever it's called. What was this one? It was like, it's called If I Can't Reach You, Let My Song Teach You. Okay, that makes sense. I think, for sure, best episode of the series so far. In terms of being an episode of television, like telling a story, focusing on a character, which is what I wanted last week, which, like, yes, last week was kind of the Sashir Zamata episode, but we were introducing a lot of concepts, and it was going to be Miss Hart's final episode, so she got a lot of the spotlight. And I feel like we've got more in store for Sashir Zamata, partially just because Jennifer Kale is the most significant witch in this show, outside of Agatha and Teen, whoever that could be. But like Jennifer Kale has been on the Midnight Suns, she's been all over the comics. And Sashir Zamata is third build on this show, I believe, even though there's a bunch of like end and withs at the end of the credits. But episode 4, The 70s Room, the star of the show, again, is the production design. The camera work, the set design, the costumes, all of it was perfect. We got so many fun like crash zooms. There's even a split diopter shot, which you only see usually highlighted on Twitter when people are like, ooh, it's a split diopter shot. So I'm sure that'll be on Twitter tomorrow. On the musical episode, which I like, it was the same song, although a little bit tweaked. And I think it does seem like that might just be the song. Like, part of me was wondering, are we going to get a song per episode? But it seems like, if anything, every episode that has a song is going to have a stylized version of that song, because even the first episode had the Mayor of Easttown opening that was the, like, you know, prestige television intro version of that song. But you know, it's fine. It's a little earworm. I'm sure it'll be one that we're all like remembering in our heads way too much, and that's just how these go. So right off the bat, I think we've learned a new fun like axiom of storytelling. This one is, if you want people to be invested in your show, put Aubrey Plaza in it, then take Aubrey Plaza away, and then put Aubrey Plaza back in the show. That really is everybody go, oh, the show's good now. And I do think it just makes a better show, especially because of the new dynamics that Rio is bringing into the group, which we'll talk about who she probably is and what's going on with her, because I do think if you understand the possibilities of who she could be, I think a lot of the things she's doing in this episode make a lot of sense. And if you don't, I think it still makes sense. Like, I think it's still pretty clear what her deal is, but I think it's a little bit more mysterious. But I do like all the friction and tension within the group, especially mostly with Agatha and whoever she's talking to at that moment, because nobody really gets along. I also think it's funny how immediately all the witches are like attracted to Aubrey Plaza. Again, she's just, you know, she's very good in this role and it's working. And I know that because I saw Megalopolis and I know what Aubrey Plaza can look like in a thing that is not working. Although she was, you know, easily the most interesting part. She's the Green Witch and she does the evil voice, I'm the Green Witch, so that's fun. I mean, I think the biggest thing that people are going to come away from this episode with is that Agatha and Rio are in a relationship, or were in a relationship or something, and Marvel is being slightly more explicit than usual, although still not technically as explicit as you would hope. I think they maybe will kiss at some point. I mean, and to be fair, this does not seem like a, oh, they're not kissing because Disney doesn't want to go all the way with this. It feels like this story is setting up this tension where they really want to kiss, but Agatha specifically does not want to. Or maybe Rio doesn't want to. I mean, they both seem to not want to. And we'll do a little bit of like guessing and who they are at the end of the video. But also this episode really focused on Alice and her whole thing. Like, I feel like we got her whole arc wrapped up. So like, that was good. This is what I've wanted from these and what I was hoping the rooms would be. Very focused on an individual witch, their history, some sort of like a really concise story that we could tell about them, and then they can grow through this challenge and then come out the other side better. Also, assuming a single individual is behind this, it's cool that they're looking at everybody in the masks with like the little eyes. That's cool and scary. It's good. I do say one thing about this show, and I don't think they've gone for it yet, and maybe they will next week. It still hasn't been scary. It's been a little bit like, oh, I guess this is scary. And again, this is a show for everybody, so children included. But I do wish it was like a tad scarier. And I don't know what that would need. Like I said that last week, I can't fully put my finger on what this is missing. But there's definitely versions of a show like this where I could feel like scared, and I am a wimp when it comes to horror movies. So this is not the kind of thing that like I'm so dull to it. It just feels like it's a little softer maybe than it needs to be. I think we could do one genuine scare per episode. I will say, like, spoilers for the episode, I did really like the idea that the song is a spell that the mom created to protect Alice. And the point of the spell is it's going to protect her. As long as the song is popular and catchy, everybody will be singing it. So it will be constantly going, like, protecting her from her curse. I think that's clever. We suggested something else as a way to potentially deal with Beetlejuice, is to make a hit song called Beetlejuice, Beetlejuice, Beetlejuice that everybody's singing. That way Beetlejuice is constantly being summoned, snapping between different locations, never has time to cause any real trouble. Who knows, maybe they'll do it in the third one. I do think the aesthetic here was fun. I think all the looks were fun. I like that Agatha's shiny pants. I also think this episode had a good amount of humor. The bit where Agatha was like, Jennifer, go play the bass, and Jennifer's like, I am in the circle though. That was cute. I think the demon looked cool. I remember having that reaction to actually seeing it, because part of me was like, oh, is it just gonna flap around? We're gonna hear it, we're gonna assume that's what's going on, but we're not gonna be able to actually like visualize that. And part of it maybe because of budget, or maybe they just don't want it to be too scary, but we saw it and it looked pretty cool. It had like a very specific look, and then it burst into flames. So that was good. That is what I'm looking for. Oh, one thing that I noticed, and this has to be what this is going for, right? We did, and people on Twitter mentioned this, we did see the first version of a Lilia call forward that paid off, right? So she says this in the episode. She says, hey, I didn't like you girls originally, but now, and there's a pause. She kind of zones out, and then she's back, and she kind of forgot what happened. That is definitely a connection to that time when she had the humongous lips in that other house where she said, I love you guys. And it like didn't really make sense then, and makes sense now. That being said, I haven't really been keeping track of other things she said. Her little asides just seem to be pulling a character and going, you're gonna die, but then that's it, and that doesn't go anywhere. I do think we got a specific one this week. She said the Three of Swords, which is a tarot card, which makes sense because this character is some sort of psychic or divinations, which I think is how she describes it. It seems like maybe her test will have something to do with recalling information or like getting all of your information together. So like that will be something secret where they have to pick things and it's like, oh, I just don't know. And everybody's like, oh, wait, remember that thing you said yesterday? That's what that was. I think that could come together really nicely as the show goes on, stitching together all of the Lilia like lucidity, kind of getting all of her thoughts together in chronological order. That's kind of fun. I do like Pat LaPuna's really funny. I loved how she was playing all the different instruments. I think she had like 4 different. She definitely had those little things. And then at one point, I think she had a tambourine and the maracas. That little image where she was playing maracas. She's having fun. That's the thing about this show and all these Marvel shows in general. Like Patty LuPone, she could phone it in if she wanted to, but she's like hamming it up, having some fun. Good. I do think it's funny that Rio, without going into what this character is, just wants to kill everybody. And kind of like Crompopulous Michael, it's just like, oh, I just can't wait to start killing everybody. Could that be a clue to her true identity? Maybe. I guess we could talk about the teen at least. Teen is not her son, assuming that Rio is telling the truth, which seems like she is. It's not Agatha's son. So that's important. That seems like good information because that was the only other thing that people thought they could be besides potentially Wanda's kid reincarnated. That seems like a pretty solid answer to that question now. And I don't think that this show has like, oh, they really gave it away too early, because I don't think the show expects this to be a mystery the same way that like Westworld is a mystery. It's like, if you don't know who this character is, you figure it out over time. And if you do, it's pretty obvious, but you still enjoy it. What else is fun in this episode? I did think this arrangement of the song is catchy. It's a fun song. I like that Agatha tried to do that thing where you trick the villain into saying they're playing over a hot mic, and the villain didn't care, but I like that she tried. It's a classic move. I'm curious about Jennifer's backstory though, and I imagine we'll get that in 2 or 3 episodes, but like they stole her magic without magic somehow, so that's interesting. I don't know what character that could be, unless that character is, and we kind of saw that guy for a second, because we don't know where, if at all, Agatha's kids are walking around somewhere. This Nicholas Scratch character that she definitely sacrificed or something. Is that character out there causing trouble for all the other witches? Like, is he a bad guy like he usually is in the comics? Maybe that's who that is. I don't know. And the other thing that's interesting, we have not seen 2 names. Like there's 2 names on the credits that have not been filled in. I don't think in any episode. If it has, then we'll cut this part out. But I think this is true. The bit where you can see all of Westview in the hex, whoever that is, hasn't shown up yet. Every title card at the end does represent the character in a way that's like, oh, right, that's who he is. So I wonder what that means. Is that Wanda? Like, if that's Elizabeth Olsen, I think she's too significant to just be treated like another member of that cast. Like, she would be an and card at the end. But it seems like this has something to do with Westview specifically. Then the one after that is some ancient witch text. Like, I imagine we will see Nicholas Scratch at some point, and maybe he's like that little text. But then, yeah, who's this other one? Who are we missing? Because it does feel like we've gotten the squad together now, and maybe there will be like a person at the end of the road, because we heard the road described very much like the yellow brick road from Wizard of Oz. I saw a good post about that by Patty Whacked 777 on Reddit today about how this all lines up to kind of what's going on in the Wizard of Oz, which I did say back when I was doing WandaVision breakdowns that Wizard of Oz symbolism is very present in that as well, so that makes sense. But it feels like there will have to be a wizard or something, some guy who's just there at the end like, hey, you won the road. I imagine that would be Mephisto, because I do think we're going to see him in this show. That would be cool. And, he doesn't have to be, he could just be the actor in like a slick little suit and stuff. Doesn't have to be a full, like, big red man. But I'd be curious to see who else shows up. It could also be like Darcy, only because in the comics, Darcy has been like upgraded from just random player in a Thor movie to getting this role in the WandaVision show. And then in the comics, now she's like Wanda's assistant at like a magic shop. I wouldn't be surprised if maybe she becomes like, I don't know, Jennifer Kale's assistant at the end of the show. And then she kind of fills that role. I don't know, that's just a dumb idea. But the fact that it's like a Westview hex symbol makes me think that it's probably a character we saw in WandaVision, and Monica Rambeau's in a different dimension. Wanda's dead, Vision's, whatever. And Vision doesn't really care about Agatha. Like, the witchy side of things is more. So I don't know. You know what? This part's weird. I do appreciate the dynamic between Agatha and Rio. Like, I like how playful Rio is. I think it's funny because Aubrey Plaza's whole thing, and we talked about this during the Megalopolis episode of the podcast, is like her bit was always she makes you feel uncomfortable. That was what was funny about April. She would say something in like Parks and Rec, it would be so weird. All the other characters would be like, oh. And I think she's doing that now, but she's doing that in like a, sexy uncomfortable. Like she's taking characters by surprise, catching them off guard with that. And I think that works. I like the way Catherine Hahn's playing it. I like that she's doing her big Agatha voice and then, kind of breaking it down for like smaller moments that are just basically Catherine Hahn. And I do think we got a good explanation of like all the stuff this week, how curses work, how sigils work, what being bound could be. Like originally it felt like the rules of which stuff were going to be pretty vague, but now it feels like there is a logic that can use to organize things in the future. So like things will be revealed, like Teen's name will be revealed when Teen something, like we'll know what's happening there because of how it's set up. All right, let's talk about Rio. So there were two characters that people thought Rio was, and this is kind of spoilery, but I'm not going to say anything besides things that are speculative at this point, things that are in the text, not looking at like any other, say, leaked information that could come from, toys or something. People thought Rio was one of two characters, Blackheart, the son of Mephisto, or Avatar of Death, one of the cosmic entities of the Marvel Comics universe. It seems now like she's Death. Like that is in a subtle way, not in the Blackheart way where she says the word Blackheart. Like that's why Agatha was telling her no when Billy was about to die. She was saying, I didn't know you'd kill Mrs. Hart. When she killed Mrs. Hart, like that was Agatha talking to her. Billy's like, who is that? That's that moment. Like she was pretty clear, like she's gonna kill everybody like Roberto from Futurama and just stab them all. I think what we could get, this Death could be less of a cosmic entity like a Galactus and more of a fusion of like Blackheart and Death, in the sense that she is a figure, like she occupies the same level as Mephisto in terms of like power and importance and stuff like that. And I'm like, the way I'm reading what she does, because it seems like her job, the way she describes it, is she had to do something, which was kill a kid, probably Agatha's kid, which she didn't want to do. Agatha and her kid, maybe, like Agatha made a deal behind her back and forced her to kill the kid very